A wolf was roaming the mountainside at sundown when he saw his shadow become bigger and wider. And he said to himself after seeing this oversized image of himself, "Why should I, being almighty and nearly an acre in length, be afraid of the mighty lion? Shouldn't I be the king of the jungle?" While he was marinating in this ridiculous thought, a lion pounced on him and slayed him. And as he took his last breaths, he declared, "Too late in repentance, worthless me. I overestimated myself, and this has led to my destruction." Staying humble is essential for survival. It is essential to work well with others. It's essential for you to live productively. And last week we discussed the importance of interconnectivity and comparing individualism and collectivism. And in the end, us as Christians, as part of a body, we must function and contribute like such as part of a body. We must connect with others. We must work with others and sort of facilitate our best function, whether we admit it or not. Everyone needs other people. Everything that has ever been accomplished that lasts has been the effort of a unit. Christ had help carrying his cross to Golgotha by Simeon. Michael Jordan couldn't win a title until he had capable and committed teammates. President Obama would not have been president without First Lady Michelle and his team. We all need relationships. And in order to have fruitful relationships, we must have humility. Humility is a state of being humble. Both it and humble have their origin in the Latin word humulus, which means low. It does not mean weak. To be humble, one must be strong enough to work with others, shortcomings, talents, feelings, and so forth, without feeling threatened or little. But culturally, humility is out of favor. Arrogance, hubris, stubbornness are all qualities that we espouse as being those who we admire, that we perceive as successful. We mistake these qualities for confidence. But a confident person need not tell everyone that they're the best. A confident person need not demand attention. A confident person need not attack any and everything that they do not agree with. A confident person can receive critique without hostility. Confidence is not a sense that you are the best, but is a surety that you have derived from having taken stock and assurance in your ability. Genuine humility is not a reflection of weakness or insecurity. It is indicative of an appreciation of the strengths of others and a lack of personal pretension, and a more relaxed sense of confidence that doesn't require external recognition. Confidence does not require adulation. Just as humility requires maturity, confidence is a maturity. We develop these by being connected to others and respecting others' abilities, expertise, efforts, and so forth. Now, Jesus spoke about humility in Luke 14:7 when he noticed that all who had come to the dinner were trying to sit at the seats of honor near the head of the table. He gave them this advice. When you are invited to a wedding feast, do not sit at the seat of the honor. What if someone who is more distinguished than you is invited? The host will come to you and say, "Give this seat to that person." Then you will be what? Embarrassed. And you will have to take whatever seat is left at the foot of the table. Instead, take the lowest seat. Take the lowest place at the foot of the table. Then the host will see you and will come to you and say, "Friend, we have a better place for you." And then you will be honored in front of all the other guests. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. The books of wisdom speak on humility. Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humble is wisdom. The prophets speak on humility. Micah 6:8. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. Paul wrote on this in Philippians 2:3. Do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourself. This is a quality that, whether you believe it or not, in faith or by works or salvation, it's necessary to work well with other people. Even in the realm of fantastic, our superheroes, from Spider-Man to the Black Panther to Batman and Jean Grey and Storm, they have powers to do the incredible, but they work best as part of a team. They use their talents for the good of many. They may be brilliant, beautiful, strong, fast, mythically powerful, but they take critique. They take critique from their co-heroes and work to save the day. Sam Rayburn served as Speaker of the House of Representatives in the United States Congress for 17 years. 17 years as Speaker of the House, the current day Nancy Pelosi. He wielded incredible power and prestige. He was third in line to the presidency. And one day he found out that a teenage daughter of a reporter friend had tragically died. So early the next morning, Rayburn knocked on the door of his friend. And when the door opened, Rayburn asked if there was anything he could do. And his friend just stammered and said, "I don't think there's anything you can do. We're making all the arrangements." But Rayburn asked, "Well, have you had your coffee this morning?" "No, haven't had the time," said the grieving man. "Well," the Speaker of the House replied, "I can at least make the coffee." And as he watched this powerful man make him coffee, the father suddenly remembered something. "Mr. Speaker, I thought you were supposed to be having breakfast at the White House this morning." "Well, I was, but I called the president and told him I had a friend who was in trouble and I couldn't come." Rayburn turned down breakfast with the president of the United States to make coffee for a grieving friend. Great humility can be exercised by people with great power. Are you humble enough to help? Are you humble enough to be helped? Or do you know it all? True humility allows you to accept criticism as graciously as a compliment. Humility creates the space where great ideas are born, room for interconnectedness to be fostered, and where a healthy group can work together. It allows you to do your part and to step back and let others work with you. It keeps you from being defensive and not putting more stock in your position than seeking the best way. It rids you of the territorialness you may foster. Staying humble makes you teachable and coachable. It makes you a better athlete, student, worker, entrepreneur, leader. It makes you approachable and the type of person people want to work with. It also allows you to learn. It proves you don't know it all, which is great. It creates endless possibilities and magnifies your strengths. It helps others connect with and relate to you. It keeps power in check. Humility empowers others to lead. It leads to curiosity. Talk about superheroes. Humility is what allowed Jesus to descend up from his throne to be born in a manger. Humility is what allowed him to exist among us for 30 plus years, preaching, teaching, healing, feeding the hungry, raising the dead. Humility is what allowed him to lower himself to be falsely accused and crucified, taking on the weight of the world's sin. Humility allows him to love us, though we sit low and he sits high. The opposite of humble is arrogant or brazen or stubborn, having exaggerated sense of self-importance, not willing to accept others' input, good or bad. Now, there are several stories about King Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible, specifically in the book of Daniel. And Daniel 4 is really a powerful testimony about humility. In this story, Nebuchadnezzar has dreamed that he doesn't understand, and he asked Daniel to interpret it for him. Daniel tells him that in the dream, the king is a tree who is chopped down and made to live with wild animals. And Daniel says he will have to live this way for 7 years until he learns that God is in control of everything. Nebuchadnezzar was not a humble king. He was very proud of his kingdom and his palace. And one day, Nebuchadnezzar was walking around surveying his kingdom and bragging to everybody about it, when all of a sudden, he could no longer speak and had to go live with wild animals, where he spent 7 years away from the kingdom, just like Daniel had said. At the end of 7 years, he praised God and knew that God was in charge. He wrote a letter to his people and said, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol the King of heaven, for all his works are right and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble." What an amazing story about the transformation from pride to humility. While God doesn't usually work by making people go live with the wild animals, we can see in this story how much God values a humble spirit. We can pray and ask God to work in our heart and make us more humble, recognizing that a humble heart leads us to loving God and loving our neighbor. Our prayer is that He must increase, but I must decrease. We must be humble so we can better be interconnected.